My name is Supriya Sharma. I head research for CICO. CICO, I'm sure you would know, is the innovation continuum. We work across the entire spectrum of what an early stage tech startups needs in the country. We are here to talk to incubators. We're here today, and you would have seen the series as squarely focused on equipping incubator managers with tools, with models to be able to build more robust, prolific incubation systems in the country. Um, for our chat today, we wanted to focus on really the customer. I mean, what is a business if there is no customer to start with? On last count, I was seeing some estimates. There are about 75,000 startups in the country. There are about 500 incubators in the country. Um, how do these incubators find startups? How do incubators build a pipeline that they will be able to work with, that they'll be able to create interventions for, that they'll be able to support, and therefore equip these startups to be able to unlock growth, to be able to create impact. For our chat today, I welcome my colleague Chintan Bakshi, who leads our entire incubation piece for CICO. Hi, Chintan.
Hi, Supriya. Very happy to be here. A quick introduction, of course, Supriya has already done the introduction. My name is Chintan Bakshi. I lead the regional incubation vertical in CICO, and we operate regional centers across India, Gujarat, Rajasthan, MP, Madhya Pradesh, and Assam. And of course, we do programs with partners, virtual sort of programs in other regions also.
Right. Chintan, I wanted to chat about, I think, the fundamental of the incubation activity, which is scouting for startups. And I want to begin at the beginning, and I want to ask you, how do you think about scouting as an activity? What is a good approach for younger incubator managers to adopt as they are scouting for startups?
No, I think Supriya, as you mentioned earlier in your introduction, startups are really customers for incubators. I mean, they are the key stakeholders. They are the reasons why an incubator is in existence. So that's the way they need to look at startups, right? So they need to look at startups as customers. And like any other business, they need to have a very strong customer focus, and they need to have a strong positioning in the minds of the customer. And once that is established, once the incubator knows what are the kind of startups that they want to support and in what way, and the startup also knows what's the kind of incubator this is and what's the kind of benefit I can get from there, then the scouting activities sort of becomes easier, right? I mean, it's like a classic consumer marketing principle that you first need to develop a clear positioning in the minds of the customer. And then the segmentation and targeting, etc., becomes easier. So I think that's where we need to start from. I mean, the days of being an incubator, which is everything for all startups, are over. Most tier 2 cities, as per my estimate, would have on an average of anywhere between 3 to 6, minimum I'm saying average, incubators which are supported by institutional funds. And of course, there'll be other smaller incubators and startup support organizations, which would be there, industry organizations which is sort of doing startup activity. So I think the first point, which is very, very important for an incubator, is to have a clear positioning. And the positioning can be on the basis of sector. It can also be on the basis of the stage of a startup. It can also be on the basis of the function where the incubator specializes in. Right, so maybe there's an incubator which specializes in helping a startup figure out their customer segment and their go-to-market strategy. Maybe it's a marketing institute or a management institute which kind of has marketing as its strength. So it could be a horizontal thing, or it could be a sectoral focus incubator. So I think these are some of the ways, and there could be multiple combinations of these, which will help you define as to how do you want to position yourselves with respect to startups.
Absolutely, Chintan. And to your point, I agree. We've also done some data crunching at our end, and about 64% of incubators are located in tier 2, tier 3 regions. So those days of just being an incubator who's everything for everyone, those are gone. And for incubators to also see themselves as um, organizations that are building tomorrow. So you need to have a sharper product. You need to know what problems are you solving for your customer, and apply some form of customer centricity in your entire process and also your scouting activity. Great. So then that also leads me to my next question, which is, um, if you have a positioning in I mean fairly clear, your where you're housed, what region are you housed is of course fairly clear. With these two points as having been done with, how do you build a pipeline of startups? How do you continuously scout and create that flow?
Yeah, so I think as the word suggests, a pipeline is a continuous process, and it's an activity which really needs to be done almost across the year. It's not a one-off activity which needs to be done. Let's say when an incubator is launching a new program or a project, especially if we are talking about a situation where there are multiple incubators and you want to focus on particular types of startups. So there needs to be continuous engagement throughout the year. And this can be done in very lean manner. It can be done through the means of, let's say, having some sessions or mentoring programs or mentoring sessions with startups, engaging with the local ecosystem, making sure that there's a constant communication that's going out there about your incubator, your services, to the general startup community at large in the regional ecosystem that you're targeting. Again, the days of trying to do a big burst of social media sort of activities for 15 days, 1 month is also over. Because everybody can do that. It doesn't take much. But what is important is to create a constant community of startups that you would like to engage with, maybe create WhatsApp groups, maybe connect with them over LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And that's how even your social media would be much more pointed when it comes to doing an actual outreach for a program. So I think the key point which I'm trying to make here is that scouting, while we are doing a program, maybe we'll do some specific activities for that duration to get all the relevant startups in the region to apply. But it's a year-long activity, and it's something which needs to be done almost as a continuous function.
Great, very, very helpful. That makes me to my third question, which is, sure, you've done your outreach, you've engaged with X number of startups. How do you identify a good startup? How do you know which one do you fold in, who's ready to receive incubation services, and which ones still require to do some things on their own before they can be brought in?
Yeah, again, to a large extent, the metrics to identify a good startup which is appropriate for your program also depends on the kind of depends on the incubator, it depends on the positioning of the incubator, and also depends on the type of program that you're launching. So, for example, if an incubator is doing a startup school sort of a program, which is a very early stage pre-incubation sort of program, so what you are really interested in is perhaps the profile of the founder, the intent and seriousness of the founder to do the startup, and that's it, right? You would just want the startup founder to go through your sessions so that he or she is able to start smartly and not make some of the more common mistakes. But on the other side of the spectrum, if you're looking for scouting startups for, let's say, a funding program, there you would need to look at multiple parameters. Founder is of course very, very important, and I think the quality of the founder is something which cuts across sectors, segments, stages. That's almost non-negotiable. But then, if you're looking at a fundraising or a funding program, then you would want to look at other things. What's the unit economics validation? The financial unit economics validation. Has the startup done enough customer validation? Is there an MVP? Is there some thought on scalability? Does the startup founder have some sort of a strategy in terms of how to build a team? The team may not be there; it may still be a very small founding team. But is the strategy in place? Have they identified some of the key team members who they could hire once the funding is done? So yeah, I think it's again a spectrum. Again, there may be some differences when you look at sectors. So, for example, we work with a lot of startups, let's say in Rajasthan, in the crafts space, or we work with agri startups in Assam. So there you may want to look at the domain-specific criteria. Is there enough differentiation in the product, especially when it comes to traditional handicrafts, etc.? Is there traceability? Is the startup kind of buying the genuine craft, and is the startup able to kind of communicate it, or at least the founder has thought about these things? So yeah, I think again it's a spectrum depending on the stage of the startup that you want to engage with, and of course there will be some sectoral parameters too.
Great. And if I could quickly summarize, please help me if I'm making the right inferences from what you just told us. Essentially, saying that how do you choose a startup really depends on the stage that they're at. But even with that, there would essentially be fundamentals that you would look at, which is the quality of founders. Have they demonstrated some proof of some proof of performance, so to say, in the past? And then there are sectoral aspects, which is which could be really dependent on what problems are they trying to solve, what sectors, what stage is the market at, and so on and so forth. Great. This was very, very helpful, Chintan. You helped us, at least helped us get a sense of how do you build an approach for scouting, which is where customer centricity is very, very critical, and incubators must think about creating a positioning, a sharp positioning for themselves in the market. You also told us that don't shy away from doing in-person engagement, don't shy away from doing in-person scouting, move away from social media. Come on, go out there. And then you also told us that when you are scouting for startups, do consider what stage are you scouting them at, look at fundamentals, and also have adequate consideration for the sectors that they are operating in. I suppose this will have some working points for incubator managers. Thank you so much for sharing these with us today. We'll have another of these chats happening sometime soon. Thanks, Chintan.
Thank you.